Her laughter was something I would forever treasure, a sound that lingered in my mind as a cherished memory of days when it filled my heart with unbridled joy. Back then, it was light and harmonious, a melody that could lift even the heaviest burdens from my soul. But as she walked through the front door that evening, returning from yet another so-called business trip, her laughter was no longer one I adored. This time, it was different, sharp, careless, and hollow, as if a part of her had been left behind somewhere unreachable to me. "Hello, sweetheart," Sarah called out in a soft, almost otherworldly tone, her voice carrying an unsettling detachment. She kicked off her heels, the muted thud echoing through the stillness of the house, and carelessly tossed her purse onto the chair near the door. Her laughter lingered in the air, but it no longer brought comfort. Then her gaze fell on it, the dining room table. In an instant, her laughter vanished, as though someone had flipped a switch. Her body went rigid, her smile disappeared, and her complexion turned ashen. She stood frozen, staring at the framed photograph I had intentionally positioned in her line of sight. It was a picture from our wedding day. She looked stunning in her delicate lace gown, her radiant smile illuminating the frame. Beside her, I stood in my navy blue suit, beaming as if I had won the ultimate prize. We were the epitome of happiness, hope, and everything love was meant to embody. But now, scrawled boldly across the glass in vivid red letters, were two words that shattered that idyllic image: I know. Her wide eyes darted from the photo to me. I was leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, watching her with an unreadable expression. "What is this?" she asked, her voice trembling and barely audible. "Why don't you tell me, Sarah?" I replied, my tone cold and deliberate, my gaze unwavering. Her lips parted as if to speak, but no words emerged. I could see her mind racing, trying to assess how much I knew, what I had discovered, and how I had uncovered it. The confident facade she had worn so flawlessly over the years began to crack. "Jack, I don't know what you're talking about," she stammered, her voice faltering under the weight of the moment. A bitter laugh escaped me, a sound so foreign even I didn't recognize it. "Don't insult my intelligence, Sarah. For months, I've watched you lie to me. The endless business trips, the late nights at the office, your sudden obsession with the gym. It all makes sense now." I reached for my phone, holding it up so she could see the screen. Her face crumpled as she stared at the images that had taken me weeks to gather. Each one had pierced my heart like a dagger, and now they served as irrefutable evidence. Sarah and her business partner, Mark, holding hands on a secluded beach, laughing together at a bar, kissing under the golden glow of a cabana. "Jack, I can explain," she began, her voice thick with desperation. "Explain?" I snapped, my voice rising with each word. "Explain how you've been sneaking around with Mark while I worked overtime to pay for your yoga classes and spa trips. Explain how you've lied to my face repeatedly. Tell me, Sarah, are you sorry for what you did, or are you just sorry you got caught?" Tears welled in her eyes as she took a hesitant step toward me, her hands raised as if an embrace could mend the broken pieces. "Jack, please," she begged, her voice breaking. "Let me explain. It's not what it looks like." I raised a hand, stopping her in her tracks. "Don't," I said firmly, my tone as cold as ice. "For 2 months, I've been gathering everything I could. Do you know why?" She didn't respond, her lips quivering as she struggled to hold herself together. "Because I needed to be certain," I continued, my voice calm but edged with steel. "I needed to know I wasn't imagining things, that I wasn't losing my mind. And now that I'm certain, I've made my decision." Her tears began to fall in earnest, but I felt no pity, no empathy. Not after what she had done. "I've already filed for divorce," I said, the words cutting through the silence like a blade. "The papers are with my lawyer. You will receive them tomorrow. I suggest you review the prenuptial agreement before considering any objections." Her face collapsed, the gravity of my words sinking in. She knew what the prenup entailed. It was ironclad, designed to protect my family's legacy. She would leave with exactly what she brought into the marriage. Nothing more. "You don't have to do this, Jack," she whispered, her voice barely audible, a last desperate plea. "I do," I replied, my tone devoid of emotion. "And there's one more thing. I've already told Mark's wife." The impact of my words hit her like a physical blow. Her mouth opened and closed, but no sound came out. "Oh, don't worry," I added bitterly. She was very understanding. In fact, she even shared some pictures of her own. Her sobs grew louder, but I felt nothing but an empty ache. There was no turning back. This was a conclusion I had been preparing for, the end of a chapter that had long been unraveling. I opened the drawer and pulled out a thick folder, feeling the weight of its contents, a tangible reminder of everything I had endured. I held it up for her to see and said in a composed, almost detached tone, "I've compiled all of this." The folder brimmed with evidence: text messages, photographs, receipts. Each piece a fragment of the puzzle that had been unraveling over the past few weeks. I tossed it onto the table in front of her, the papers scattering across the surface like shards of a broken mirror. "This will go straight to your company's HR department if you dare to challenge me over this divorce," I stated, my voice steady and unyielding. I watched as panic began to seep into her features, the dawning realization of the gravity of her actions taking hold. "I want you to fully grasp what you've done," I continued, my tone icy. "Let's see how well your company handles two of their senior managers engaging in an affair on company time and resources." The silence that followed was suffocating. She sank into a chair, her head dropping into her hands as sobs racked her body. Her breakdown, strangely enough, brought no satisfaction. It felt almost surreal, as though I were an observer in someone else's life. "I made a terrible mistake, Jack. Please, I adore you," she pleaded, her voice trembling with emotion. But her words fell flat, unable to pierce the emotional armor I had built. A hollow chuckle escaped me, its bitterness reverberating in the room. "Love," I said, my voice dripping with scorn. "Is this what you call love? You don't love me, Sarah. You love the life I built for you, the stability, the security, the comfort I provided. But respect? You had none. You discarded all of it. For what?" Her cries grew louder, but they didn't stir me. Instead, I felt an unexpected sense of relief, as if an invisible weight had been lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in years, I wasn't angry or resentful. I wasn't even sad. I was simply free. I grabbed my keys, my movements deliberate. "I'll be staying at a hotel for the next few days," I said, my voice unwavering. "By the end of the week, the movers I've scheduled will come to pack up your things. You need to leave this house." Her tear-streaked face tilted upward, desperation etched into every line. "Please, Jack, don't do this. We can fix this. We can go to counseling. We can make it work," she begged, her voice cracking under the weight of her desperation. I shook my head slowly. Her eyes glimmered with a fragile hope, clinging to the illusion that I might forgive her, that we could turn back the clock. But I knew better. "Some things, Sarah, can't be fixed," I said firmly. There was no room for negotiation, no possibility of a second chance. I walked to the door, my hand resting on the handle. For a moment, I paused and turned back to her one last time. "Oh, and I've canceled the credit card you used to buy that purse during your business trip. Enjoy explaining that to your lover," I added, my tone cutting. Without waiting for a reply, I stepped outside. Her cries echoed through the house, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back. I couldn't allow myself to be drawn into her emotional theatrics any longer. As I drove away, a torrent of emotions washed over me: anger, betrayal, and the fresh sting of hurt. But beneath it all was something unexpected, a profound sense of freedom. For years, I had poured my heart into building a life with someone who didn't truly value me. That chapter was now closed, but in its place was the promise of something new. The next morning, my phone buzzed in the hotel room. It was a message from Mark's wife. Her words were simple but carried immense weight. "Thank you for telling me. I'm leaving him too. We deserve better." Her message struck a chord deep within me. She was right. We did deserve better. As I gazed out of the hotel window at the rising sun, I realized the end of my marriage wasn't a tragic conclusion. It was the dawn of a new beginning. For the first time in months, hope flickered within me. The world outside was full of possibilities, and I was ready to embrace them.